You know the name Jack Daniel. It's on a million bottles, a black label you'd recognize anywhere. But here's the thing, nobody put on that label for over 100 years. Jack didn't teach himself. The man who did, his name was Nearest Green. And this is where the whole story of Tennessee whiskey really begins. Let's go all the way back, the 1820s. As the story's been passed down, a boy named Nathan Green is born into slavery and ends up in the hills of Lincoln County, Tennessee. Nobody wrote down his birthday. Nobody wrote down much about him at all. That's how it went for enslaved people in America. Their lives lived loud, but recorded quiet. But Nathan, folks called him Nearest. Nearest had a gift. He could make whiskey. Not just make it better than anyone around. And in Tennessee in the 1850s, that was a rare and valuable thing. Here's what set him apart. He mastered a way of filtering the whiskey, dripping it slow through thick beds of sugar maple charcoal before it ever touched a barrel. It stripped out the harshness, made the spirit smoother, cleaner, softer on the way down. Today we call it the Lincoln County process, the single thing that makes Tennessee whiskey, the step that separates it from bourbon. And here's what most people never hear. Historians believe that technique traces back to West Africa, where charcoal was used to purify water and food, knowledge carried here by enslaved people. So the very thing that defines an American whiskey, it came from them. Nearest was so good at it, the men who enslaved him would rent him out to other farms, just so folks could get a taste of what he made. Which brings us to a man named Dan Call. Now here's a detail you won't forget. Dan Call was a reverend, a preacher, and he also ran a whiskey distillery right there on his farm. Man of God on Sunday, whiskey man the rest of the week. Hold on to that little contradiction. It's going to matter a whole lot down the road. And it was to Call's farm that Nearest was hired out to work. And on that same farm was a kid, a little white orphan boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, hired on to do chores. Ambitious, curious, always underfoot around the still. His name was Jasper Newton Daniel, but everybody just called him Jack. Jack latched on to Nearest. And Nearest took the boy under his wing, taught him the fire, the mash, the charcoal, the patience, everything he knew. The Reverend Dan Call is said to have put it plainly, Uncle Nearest is the best whiskey maker that I know of. Then came the Civil War. And when it ended, Nearest Green was a free man. Now here's the part that makes this story different from almost every other one like it. When Jack Daniel started his own distillery, he didn't leave Nearest behind. He hired him, made him the first master distiller of the Jack Daniel distillery, which means Nearest Green was the first known black master distiller in the entire United States. And Green's descendants? They kept working at Jack Daniel's for generations, right up into modern times. But for over a century, Nearest's name faded out of the story. The bottle said Jack. History said Jack. Nearest became a footnote, if he was mentioned at all. Then, in recent years, a writer named Fawn Weaver went digging. She pulled the records, walked the land, found the descendants, and put Nearest Green's name back where it belonged. Out of that came a whole new brand, Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey. Launched in 2017, named in his honor, and it took off, becoming one of the most awarded American whiskeys of its era. Not bad for a man history almost forgot. So the next time you see that famous black label, remember there were 2 men behind it, the one whose name we all know, and the one who taught him everything. But that raises a question, doesn't it? Who was Jack Daniel? How did a poor orphan boy turn a mentor's craft into one of the most famous names on earth, in a town that to this day won't even sell his whiskey? That's where we're headed next time. The origin of Jack Daniel himself, and the temperance storm that nearly wiped whiskey off the map. So tonight, pour yourself 2 fingers of something good, and raise your glass to the man behind the bottle. Because behind every great spirit is the spirit who made it. I'm Realtor Michael Bird. Drink good whiskey and remember the ones who made it. Cheers, and I'll see you at the next pour.